It was bitterly cold. Snow was falling, darkness was settling in, and it was New Year's Eve. Along the street walked a poor little girl with no hat and bare feet. When she had left home, she had been wearing slippers, but they were far too large for her because they had once belonged to her mother. In the rush of traffic, she lost both of them. One slipper disappeared, and a boy ran off with the other, joking that he would use it as a cradle for his future children. Now the little girl walked through the snow with feet red and blue from the cold. She carried a bundle of matches in her apron and held some in her hand. All day long she had tried to sell them, but no one had bought a single match or given her any money. Cold, hungry, and exhausted, she wandered through the streets. Snowflakes settled in her beautiful fair hair, but she hardly noticed. Warm lights shone from the windows of the houses, and the smell of holiday dinners filled the air. It was New Year's Eve, and families were celebrating inside. At last she sat down in a sheltered corner between two buildings. She curled up and pulled her feet close to her body, but the cold only grew worse. She was afraid to go home. She had earned no money, and she knew her father would be angry. Home was hardly any warmer anyway. The wind slipped through cracks in the walls, despite the rags and straw stuffed into them. Her hands were almost frozen. If she dared light just one match, perhaps it would warm her fingers. She struck a match against the wall. It flared brightly, and in its glow she imagined a large iron stove with polished brass fittings. Warmth spread through her body as she held her hands toward it. She stretched out her feet to warm them too. But then the flame went out. The stove vanished, and she was left holding only the burned matchstick. She lit another match. This time the wall before her seemed to become transparent. She could see into a warm room where a table was set with a white cloth and fine dishes. A roast goose stuffed with apples and dried fruit steamed on a platter. Then, in her imagination, the goose jumped from the table and waddled toward her, carrying a knife and fork in its side. Just then the match went out and the vision disappeared. Only the cold wall remained. She lit a third match. Now she saw a magnificent Christmas tree, larger and more beautiful than any she had ever seen. Thousands of candles glowed among its branches, and colourful decorations sparkled everywhere. She reached out her hands toward the tree, but the match went out. The lights rose higher and higher until they became stars in the sky. Suddenly, one star streaked across the heavens. "Someone has died," whispered the little girl. Her grandmother, the only person who had ever truly loved her, had once told her that when a star falls, a soul rises to heaven. She quickly lit another match. There, standing in the warm light, was her grandmother. She looked radiant, gentle, and full of love. "Grandmother," cried the little girl, "please take me with you. I know you'll disappear when the match goes out, just like the stove, the Christmas tree, and the wonderful feast." Afraid of losing her, she struck the entire bundle of matches at once. A brilliant light surrounded her, brighter than daylight. Her grandmother smiled more beautifully than ever before. She lifted the little girl into her arms, and together they rose higher and higher into a place where there was no cold, no hunger, and no fear. They were with God. The next morning, in the cold dawn of the new year, people found the little girl sitting quietly in the corner. Her cheeks were rosy, and a peaceful smile rested on her face. She had frozen to death during the night. Beside her lay the burned matches. She must have been trying to keep warm, people said. But no one knew the wonderful visions she had seen. No one imagined the joy with which she had entered the new year, reunited with her beloved grandmother.